Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Somewhere between science and superstition.
We have such sights to show you.
Strange Eons. Welcome to Strange Eons Radio. That's Eric over there.
Hello.
That's sneezy Vanessa Williams over there.
I'm coughing. I drank the water and it got stuck in my throat.
I'm Kelly. And guys, I want to just real quick mention at the top of the show here. Like I said, I occasionally will look at the YouTube comments and stuff like that. And there was a comment by Joel Weishart. And Eric, you might remember Joel Weishart as a member of the band Nightshade.
Yeah.
Our theme music is by the band Nightshade.
Aww.
And Joel had left the band by the time they had recorded the song that we're using, but he now has a new band called Animax, Annimax. Groovy heavy metal coming out of the Pacific Northwest. If you're into that stuff, you should think about it.
Cool.
What I want to talk to you guys about is... So, Indiana Jones comes out to lackluster numbers.
Yeah.
The Flash comes out to lackluster numbers.
So true.
Pixar's Elemental comes out to lackluster numbers. Insidious 5 suddenly pops out and beats Indiana Jones on its second weekend.
Oh my God.
And I'm wondering, are we seeing the end? I mean, I would love this. Are we seeing the end of the studios thinking that it has to be a blockbuster? Can we stop making $300 million movies and get back down to a reasonable price and get maybe some more interesting stories?
Possibly. I think Mission Impossible is going to
Mission
mess with
Impossible
that
coming
some.
up next. Yeah. I don't know. Are we just... I know a guy who's decided that like this year he was like, I'm not watching a movie that is a sequel or a remake or a reimagining or anything. And it basically just cut down his movie viewing to like nothing.
Yeah, anything new, you're in a real low budget or realm,
right?
Or foreign films. That's about it.
One of my closest friends will not watch anything by Disney, which means any Marvel movie, any Disney movie.
Oh, geez, yeah, they own everything.
Any Star Wars movie. Yeah, so he's really relegated to just indie films and horror when they come out.
Yeah, I wonder if this, I mean, when you get a summer like this that's full of blockbusters that fail, what is the answer? What is everybody doing instead of going to these movies?
It's hard because I'm shocked about Elemental just because I feel like a lot of times people misunderstand that during the summer, a lot of kids need to be entertained. So Spider-Man is going to make like $1 zillion because they can be brought, or Super Mario.
Yeah.
The kids can go over and over and over again and be entertained. So I'm shocked about Elemental, but I don't know what is happening because I feel like people are going to the theaters. It's just...
The theater... I go to is the 21 and over only, and it's like I was looking at buying Mission Impossible tickets for the first weekend, and they're almost completely sold out.
Okay,
in that theater, so we'll see. But I think there's I don't know, it's got to be one or two things. Either it's something that has this weird groundswell of underground support that people just don't think about, like Terrifier 2 coming out and doing millions of dollars last year. Or so high up there that it's just Mission Impossible or Top Gun or not even Marvel movies do it anymore. So it's going to be a bunch of very confused businessmen who've been running Hollywood for 30, 40 years now, who have to figure out actual creativity. Can we make good movies again that are based around something other than, oh, this is a popular board game, or this is a great cereal. Let's make a Grape Nuts movie.
We need like mid-tier movies again for budgets. Like the problem is they're spending so much money and hoping so much that like it's going to return. And I don't think that you can do that anymore. I don't think you can put out these $1 zillion films and expect it to automatically make it. Like when's the last, I mean, Mission Impossible is coming out soon, but I don't remember what happened to the last one or the last 5.
I
of
remember
them.
liking all of them,
Yeah,
and
they're
I
fun.
can't pull
Cannot
it.
tell you.
They're
Yeah.
just fun. Sit down, watch a great action movie, and go on with your life. They're not.
Because the last couple
Okay.
have had like a couple of through stories.
Well, this
in
one's
them.
also a one or two or maybe even three group of films coming up. So this
Oh,
one will
yeah.
be one of two at least.
For Mission Impossible,
Yeah.
like part 1 of something. And
Cruise is going to have to retire from these action flicks eventually because he's 60 years old.
Well, he's in great shape.
He looks great, but
I saw
he insists
the-
on doing all his own stunts.
Yep. I saw the
Yeah.
behind the scenes where he threw himself out of an airplane, off a motorcycle
Yeah.
Yeah.
into kind of off a cliff. And they were like, cool, man, we got it. And he was like, no, we're going to shoot it again. You can't just say we did it in one. And he did it like 8 or 9 times. Like the guy I don't think he's going to be stopped anytime soon. But
No.
I think
there's
there's something about these projects where it's like, okay, Indiana Jones, but we talked about this last time. Who is the audience? Who are the audience for these movies? Like you have to figure out who's actually going and then make the movies for them.
Well, part of the thing is, I mean, okay, Kelly and ours main grow up impressions of films had the Arnolds and the Stallones and
Right.
Harrison Ford and Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
Who the hell has been anywhere, or even in horror, you had Jason and Freddy and Pinhead.
Right.
Who is sure, Terrifier, I guess, could be that, but he's not going to ever cross over into the weird mainstream world that Jason and Freddy were able to.
I think people don't want it. I think people, first of all, like the idea of a movie star has really died because of social media. No one is untouchable anymore.
There's no mystery about them as
zero
people.
mystery. Yeah, and no one cares. The other thing that you're battling against is I think Marvel has fatigued us against any kind of concept of needing to follow a story through in a continuous manner. Like, it's just exhausting to think like, oh God, a movie's coming out and I don't remember where things are and I have to watch this stuff and I have to like backtrack and like make a chart so I can actually care about this when it comes out and understand what's happening.
Yeah, I think you're really right about that. You know, when I walked out of The Flash, I was kind of like, I think I might be done with superhero movies.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was just one of those moments where I was like, I was mostly bored through most of this.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. Really interesting to me to see that Insidious 5 beats Indiana Jones on its second weekend.
Yeah.
Though. That's
and
crazy.
you're still in sequel territory too there. You're not in original film. But that Blumhouse, I think there's something maybe the studios could look at his studio and go, okay, this guy's we're doing $1 million for $200 million, one movie for $200 million. He would probably do 20 or 30 movies
right
in that realm. Maybe they should go, well, why don't we do, instead of releasing 5 big movies a year, why don't we go back to doing what they used to do, where they do 10 or 15 movies a year. Mm-hmm. 1 or 2 is going to spike and be really popular, and the rest will probably make some money. Mm-hmm. But the $1 billion movies where they're headed for is just not sustainable because there's so many ways to watch movies now, and there's so much stuff out there.
Yeah,
that's like, oh, cool. Hey, the new what's its name has opened up. Oh, there's a new episode of my favorite streaming show on tonight. I want to watch that instead.
Right.
Yeah.
It'll come to streaming sometime. I'll be able to watch movie X
or
at
I'll
some
see
point.
it next week or the week after, and then it's like, oh, it's not like that. I don't care anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the old model with video was they'd come out in theaters, and you'd have to go see it because it's not going to be on video for 6 months to a year.
Oh yeah.
And then it's only going to be rental for a while. And if you want to buy it, it's $100 VHS tape.
Yep.
Right.
And then 6 months to a year after that, you can buy it for $20.
And now it's like, sometimes I'm shocked. I'm like, oh, I was going to see this in the theater. Why is it popping up on like Apple Plus or, Max?
Just already out. Or DVD killed that model because they came out, we're not doing rentals. We're just selling it straight to video sell-through. Mm-hmm. And it's been that way ever since.
Yeah. Interesting times coming up.
Yeah.
Speaking of streaming, Eric, you mentioned this last episode, but I started watching Hijack on Apple Plus.
Yeah.
Idris Elba. Mm-hmm. I know you have watched it, Eric. Mm-hmm. Man.
First 3 episodes.
What a intense
Yeah.
show.
And it's been really interesting because it's not, here's your cookie cutter people.
Right.
I mean, there are some that are, but there's more going on. There's something more going on with the hijackers.
Yeah.
And there's something more going on with some of the people. And you mentioned with Lord of Illusions, you couldn't understand, or not Lord of Illusions, but the Nick Fury thing, you couldn't understand. Dean's like, what are these people saying? So I turned on the subtitles for this one. I actually did, because there's a lot of accents going on in this film or show. But so you're liking it too?
Oh, Idris, well, he's one of those actors that I will always at least give a chance. I watched that silly lion movie that you watched, Vanessa.
Oh, God.
And it's bad, but he's good.
He's good. He's fun. But you're just like, when his kids are in danger, you're like, just eat them.
Yeah, everything was
fine.
bad. The CGI lions were bad. This has been, I guess, something that I've been looking forward to every time that comes out. I'm just like, new episode of Hijack. Okay, that's what I'm doing tonight. So,
and it's Apple TV again.
Yeah, I think that
Jeez, man.
It might be time to really start looking at them as a player. I wish that it was getting the word out a little better.
Yeah, it's surprisingly low knowledge.
It's not one that gets brought up, but between that, I still haven't watched any Ted Lasso, but between that and Severance and
Silo,
there's just too many good things.
Yeah. So I'm digging it. Hijack.
Cool.
Speaking of Silo, I did watch the ending.
Oh, yes. And if you haven't watched the ending, shall we do spoiler alert, or can you talk about it without?
I could probably talk about it without giving. I mean, you have to know so much of what's going on already. But yeah, I thought I'm usually pretty good at guessing plots. Yeah. And so in the first, I don't know, half hour of the first, episode, I was like, oh, it's this. And it's like they knew that would be my guess. And so they it got subverted in a really fun way that'll make me interested in the next season. I'm pretty stoked about that. I just really enjoyed it. I'm really loving it. It's not often that we get to have this sort of darker sci-fi stuff that's engaging and interesting and just little pockets of cool storytelling with good acting. And have really been digging it.
Cool. That's very cool.
I'm a couple episodes behind. I mirror your thoughts on how cool it is to get this kind of like adult entertainment with adults in the leads and stuff like that. Yeah. So, Eric, you've read the books.
Yes.
Does this feel like it's following the first book, and then the next season will be the next book?
I would think so. It's following the. Well, this isn't the first book. The first book, there's a lot more to the first book to go. The first season isn't just the book, but. It follows. It's been long enough that I don't remember the exact plot lines, but it follows the spirit and the concept that was so prevalent in those books. The weird world it is, and the mistrust and the paranoia and the mystery are really. It feels like the book, which was called Wool. I think it's Silo now, but just like fit exactly. This is the opposite of what happened with the Halo series.
Yeah.
That's cool to hear.
But that's something I love about Apple is like something like this will just come out of nowhere. Like they don't really do a good job of being like, guess what we got coming up soon. No kidding. They're just like, bam, mic drop, walk away. With Severance, I mean, that was just like totally word of mouth. And I feel like this is a similar, it's like got a huge budget. It's got great actors in it, like recognizable faces. And they don't even, I was just like, I found it because you mentioned it offhand.
Yeah.
I'd like to, is there information on their budget? I mean, it looks like they've got a huge budget. But I don't know if they actually do. And are they just throwing money at shows and that's why they're so good? And if so, how are they getting it back? They're still a $7 a month.
Oh, I'm sure they're not. Apple's so profitable.
Yeah, they're the most profitable company in history ever to exist.
Right. So you think that they're just like, we can afford to lose money on a show, though?
Yeah, they're trying to make put their foot into the world of movies and shows and streaming. And this is like, I mean, just like Amazon Prime was kind of just a random risk take.
Right.
These companies are like, shit, I don't know. Sure. It's like trying out Thread or whatever. Like, why not? Let's see what happens.
Yeah, what it'll be like. Yeah. I'm not sure if it's offset by popularity around the world or if it's, because it doesn't seem to be generically designed to be anything other than where it's made. I mean,
Right.
it doesn't have the big budget movies now have to reach out, or there's that weird backlash against Barbie because of the way a line was drawn and a Crayola map.
Oh, I did not hear about that.
I did not hear about this.
Just
All I see is the Barbie Oppenheimer cross
comparison.
stuff.
Yeah. Well, okay, I'll bring us back to the 70s again.
Roots.
With a movie that I watched because of Quentin Tarantino's book, where he bragged, maybe not be the right word, but that's kind of how he writes. I'm the smartest man ever when it comes to film.
Look at me go.
Where he compared it that it was so much better than Taxi Driver, and he thought it did everything right that Taxi Driver kind of did wrong. A movie called Joe, 1970, I believe, which is good.
Yeah.
It is a good movie. It's directed by the guy who directed Rocky. It's got, what's the star's name?
Peter Boyle.
Yeah, Peter Boyle playing a shockingly racist person in modern
quite
viewing.
Quite racist.
It's a similar storyline of a disillusioned, pissed off old white guy that wants to kill people.
Right.
And it is solid. And if it hadn't come from, well, this is Taxi Driver is nowhere near as doesn't get it. This movie gets it. Kind of way that Tarantino's book presented it, I probably would have thought, wow, this is powerful and interesting, because it is. But if you're comparing to Taxi Driver,
yeah,
the compelling character De Niro creates versus there's two main characters in this one, it's not even close.
Yeah.
It's worth watching.
Right. Both of them, I can see comparing the films.
Yes.
Both of them have very nihilistic endings.
Yeah.
But I think if you were going to just compare one as being better than the other, how are you going to beat Taxi Driver?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The nihilism in Taxi Driver is so violent and so uncomfortable and dark, where this one felt predictable. I was a little surprised by the ending of Taxi Driver.
Oh.
No, I wasn't surprised by the ending of this one.
Oh, you weren't? Okay.
When they showed up at the house, I'm like, oh, I know what's going to happen here. But it was still, they're all good actors. It was Susan Sarandon's first film.
Yeah.
And she's in it. She's really good. She's in it enough. All the performances are good. The writing's good. The uncomfortable scenes between the really wealthy and the working man guy are really well done. So there's a lot to like about it. It's definitely a well done, if hard to watch movie.
Yeah.
So it's not one I'd go out and see it. But if you love Taxi Driver and disturbingly love Joker as much, you'll probably like Joe.
Oh, jeez.
Vanessa, you talked a couple episodes ago about Nice House on the Lake, right?
Yeah.
Which I have purchased, but I have not started reading yet. But Danny Williford then said, that he had purchased it also. And I had to tell him that I have not started reading it because I'm still halfway through my Werewolf by Night omnibus.
Oh, my gosh.
This is a pretty silly 70s comic book. I remember liking a lot and kind of now not liking a lot.
Sure.
But it's really made me want to pick up. They did a art book for the Werewolf by Night one shot that Disney put out. So I think I will pick that back up. But this has been the first omnibus is Mike Plug as the artist, and I think he's just unparalleled. This is Don Perlin as the artist now. And, and then written by Doug Munch. So, Moon Knight's going to show up here pretty soon. And
he's in the Moon Knight omnibus that I read, has the Werewolf by Night crossovers.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I didn't realize that the committee, the people who hire Moon Knight to take out the werewolf, that they're there from like issue 1, trying to take out the werewolf. And it's
that's a little weird.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, I'm not loving this, but I'm gonna power through because I love me some werewolves.
You mentioned Nice House by the Lake, which I finished reading this morning.
Oh my God.
It is. It's good.
Yeah.
It's definitely worth checking out. Man.
Slowly infecting everyone.
I read it digitally though. I didn't purchase the one, and there's some aspects that are very weird to read digitally because it's got like some full page like email interactions or text message interactions. So it's like, oh, okay. But it's wow.
Cool.
Well, yeah, I've been watching some really weird stuff, partly because I'm trying to find fodder for a film festival that I help to pick out films for. And oh gosh, I'm trying to think if I actually want to talk about this.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, it's good. So I watched Living. Have you guys heard of this?
Don't even
No.
know.
So Bill Nye, it's considered to be one of his best performances of his career. It's sort of the thing that people are like, he's going out with a bang. It's the story of a businessman who gets some bad news about how much time he has left. And he has spent his whole life just getting on the train, getting off the train, and kind of being a dick at this very I want to say corporate job, but it's a very like Brazil style like place where it's just form after form. Nobody gets anything done. Everybody passes work back and forth, and they purposely make it impossible for people to move forward. And this is set in, I want to say like, turn of the century UK. Maybe that's inappropriate. Maybe it's a little bit later than that, but it's from a while ago. And he chooses how he wants to spend that last bit of his time and see if he can actually live life. And it's a good movie that was maybe not enjoyable to me. So
I can fully see that as a concept.
Very, very good movie. Great acting. Really interesting story. Set in a time that really is fascinating to watch. But man, it's like, woof. It's exhausting. And by the end, there's not really like an emotionally fun payoff at all. You're just like, wow, okay.
And this is a brand new movie.
It was a movie that came out last year, and I think it actually got nominated for an Oscar. I'm not sure if it was for Bill Nye's performance or what, but it's now available on Netflix, which I was really excited. I wanted to nominate it as a film for our festival because we're an island of an older population.
Sure.
A lot of people are kind of facing similar, questions about their own lives. So I checked it out, and I was so mad because we're not going to show anything that's on like Netflix, Amazon, or Hulu, like any of the main streaming ones. But we will show things that maybe you can pay for. And Netflix bought it and buried it. It is, you cannot find this thing on Netflix. Like, you have to specifically search for it. It's not in any carousels. It's not.
Wow.
Considering it's such a big title, I'm pretty irritated about it. So, Living, if you want to be, if you're questioning your life and you want to really think about it and you want to watch Bill Nye do the same thing, by golly, check this film out.
Alrighty. I'm probably won't be doing that anytime soon.
Pass on that. Yeah, I do enough of that on my own.
I don't have a lot of cheery things to talk about, unfortunately. Film festivals are, when you're not running a genre film festival, let me tell you.
Oh, yeah.
The choices are a little different.
Yeah, it's very different. Okay, well, then I'll go back to stupidly entertaining films for you.
Thank you.
Death Wish 5, The Faces of Death.
Oh, my God.
1994. Came out.
Did not even realize this franchise went 5 movies. Is this the last, or?
I believe so. It's the last one I could find, and I'm kind of like, I've done this with a few franchises, and very few of them end with me going, God, I'm glad I watched all of the movies in that franchise. And this is no different, although this one is really strange. It's almost like it's slightly mixed with a Saw idea, where he doesn't just take care of business and shoot people and go on with his life. He does weird torture things with them.
Oh.
The vigilante tortures? Yeah. Oh, this makes him unlikable, I would think.
Very, very weird. Like he puts one guy in industrial plastic wrap to try to get information out of him for somebody that's missing. It just didn't feel like a Death Wish movie in a lot of ways. It was set up to be one with, he's got his new woman.
Oh, and I was going to say, who gets raped this time?
No rapes, but he does have his new woman, and his new woman has a daughter, I think. This movie really stuck with me. I think I watched it like 2 weeks ago.
Oh my God.
But and he's got she runs a fashion room, and the fashion mob guy is coming in to take over her business, and he's going to stop him. So it's weird. It's just a weird version of this films where he is more like, as opposed to most of the Death Wish movies, it's like, I have to take care of business. I got to go out. I want to get this shit done. I'm going to go on with my life because I can't live without dealing with this. This is more like, hey, I hate these guys. Let's fuck with them. It's a little fun. Let's do that. It's weird. And it's got it's funny, not intentionally, but it's got
Oh my gosh.
like one scene in the basement of the fashion thing. There's 3 guys with, of course, Uzis still, even though it's the mid-90s. I thought they'd kind of move past that, but not the Death Wish movies. Uzis and a rocket launcher in a basement. So he gets the Bane guy gets a forklift and is driving towards him. They shoot the forklift. It kind of falls over and he jumps off and is fine. I mean, this is the level of stuff you're dealing with by this time.
Oh my gosh.
So it was entertaining to watch. I'll admit 4 and 5 are more fun to watch than 2 and 3. Unless you really want to, don't be stupid. Just let them be. There's plenty of good vengeance movies out there to watch if you're feeling that need.
They're dropping the ball on Death Wish 666, where he's killed at the beginning, but then comes back because he was sent to hell for murdering all these people.
There you go.
And then, somebody gets raped that he's related to, and he comes back and has to kill them all, but now he's an undead vigilante.
Ooh.
Well, there's that...
you guys can have that for free.
That guy, I don't remember where he's from, like El Salvador or Mexico or something, who looks just like Charles Bronson. They could bring him in and have him too.
Absolutely. I tried to watch one of his movies, and they're even worse.
Not surprisingly. I'm sure they put a deep budget into a lookalike movie.
Death Wish 5. Okay, is there any cool subtitle to Death Wish 5?
Faces of Death.
Oh, Faces of Death. Fuck.
It's awful.
That's really bad.
Don't Google that.
No, you'll get something very different.
Yeah.
Okay, why don't we take a break and wash the bad taste out of our mouth? And then when we come back, we are talking high-rise horror.
It's Kenner's new girder and panel building set with working elevator.
Gonna build me a skyscraper 12 stories tall with girders and panels, and that's not all. There's a working elevator, I can make it go up to the top, then down below. I can make lots of buildings one by one. Ain't gonna stop till I get it done. Building.
The girder and panel building set with working elevator. New from Kenner.
And we're back. Vanessa, this was your subgenre.
Yeah. So this was to cover a film that was given to me by one Micah CR guy. He gifted me with the film called Down, aka The Shaft.
I think that elevator's haunted.
You don't mess with the devil himself.
Elevators are one of the safest means of transportation. Security is and has always been our top priority.
The machine got a mind of its own, and now it's taking revenge. You still think there's nothing wrong with those elevators?
You created this monster, you kill it.
We're going too fast. Get us out!
not a machine anymore.
From 2001.
When you say that like that, it sounds like one title. Down the Shaft.
Down the Shaft. It's called Down, or it was also called The Shaft. I'll get to that later. Rotten Tomato score of 20% from critics and 19% from audience. That is generous. Just, I don't know who gave that out. Man, that's like everybody gets an award. Budget could not find, it had to have been between 10 and 20 million. It looks like a Final Destination movie. It's got plenty of CGI. It's got a couple of names. Box office. Lifetime world gross, as it was printed out in Box Office Mojo, $535,658.
Nice. Very precise.
A very little amount. Written and directed by Dick Maas. Dick Maas. He has 25 writing and 27 directing credits, including Prey, not that one, Saint, Flotter, 1, 2, and 3, and Amsterdam. I want you to close your eyes and imagine someone, perhaps maybe even from the Netherlands, who wished that they were Michael Bay in the 90s. Just think upon it, right? Try very hard. If you have an image, I want you to open your eyes and go to IMDb and look up this man, Dick Maas, M-A-A-S. It will explain everything you need to know about this film and more.
Oh, boy.
Starring James Marshall, 44 credits, including James in Twin Peaks. 30 episodes of that, plus Fire Walk with Me. He's also in A Few Good Men and currently in a show called The Pact as Cain. Naomi Watts has 91 credits. She was in Mulholland Drive, The Ring, I Heart Huckabees, The Impossible, King Kong, Birdman, and many, many more. And just randomly thrown in the mix as you're watching, you see flashes of Michael Ironside, Edward Herrmann, Ron Perlman, and Dan Hedaya. So, we are in New York's famous Millennium Building on a dark and stormy night with some security guards walking around. A strange lightning storm hits the building multiple times. And then the elevators start to act up a little bit. As many of the electronics across the city seem to be kind of acting strange. The security guard, however, is trying to get the elevator to stay open, and then we hear a shout, and you think, oh God, he got crushed. Nope, his flashlight did, though. Something's going on. Watch out. Also, flashlights, video screens, computer monitors, many other electronics, not just in this building, across the whole city are acting strangely. Don't worry about it. We only care about the Millennium Building. Ignore that. Also, we have a little screen that says it has 102 floors and 73 elevators. Also ignore this. We only care about the 3 express elevators in the middle. That's all that matters.
It's a lot of elevators.
Next day, we have a Lamaze class letting out in the building, and several pregnant women find their way to the elevator. Suddenly, while they're in it, it rapidly goes down and suddenly stops, knocking them into the ground. Then the heat rises. They're stuck in there. They have no air for some unknown reason, because elevators, I guess, are very sealed. Before anyone can get to them, 2 of them give birth in the elevator, I guess, due to stress.
What?
So, suspicious things are amok. Jennifer Evans, Naomi Watts, is sent to check out what's going on. She fails to get the scoop, so she's kind of determined to figure out a story behind this. Also sent out to investigate from Meteor Elevator Company are the technicians Jeff and Mark, 2 buddies from war times, who look around, can't find anything wrong. Not because they suck, there's just nothing apparently wrong. However, more things happen. A blind man and his dog fall down an open elevator shaft when they were taken to the wrong floor. It's really, really sad. I thought the dog would live. Nope. Blind man pulls it down with him. Really upsetting to look at. One of the security guards has his head wedged into the elevator after looking out through the shaft and seeing the other dead dog hanging there. And then the elevator comes down, weird, and decapitates him. Then it pans to a bunch of little shrunken heads on a stand. Very good. Meteor comes out again. Mark and Jeff again find nothing. Mark says that they can't really see everything unless it's fully shut down, but the execs of the building don't want to lose that kind of tourist money. So Mark ends up in deep shit as he then, on his way out, gives an offhand comment to the reporter, Naomi Watts, who's harassing him, remarking, 9 out of 10 people make it out of the elevator fine, lady, which lands him on the front cover of the paper and almost fires him as a quote. He's then pulled off the job of the Millennium Building, but things continue to get crazy. We're now at the halfway mark when a rollerblader is racing through the parking garage and beats his friend to the elevator, and he is sucked into the elevator through a white light portal. He is popped up to the top of the elevator, and he is chucked out through the glass, through the fence, off the building, and down, where he falls in front of his friend and smishes splats. This takes a turn. So his death is marked as a suicide somehow. Mark is starting to put it all together, though. Things are stranger than expected. Mark teams up with Jennifer to try to uncover what's really happening in the Millennium Building when his friend, of course, Jeff, starts acting stranger and stranger, meeting up with a German technician, Gunther Steinberg, who has questionable practices. They find out Jeff's old partner was also killed in the building, but labeled as suicide. Will Mark figure out what's going on with the elevator before Jeff is brutally murdered by the shaft in a car full of tourists, or Willy Wonka out the top of the building? Will this film become a story about a mechanical error turned haunted elevator turned satanic elevator turned Cronenbergian flesh-fused elevator body horror? Will the ADR become increasingly odd with the background sound eventually fully dropping out of the film so New York is almost an entirely silent landscape? And will Mark and Jennifer be able to keep their hands off each other long enough to get to the end of the film where they end up awkwardly making out, then banging in an elevator?
Of course.
Well, this film is not good. It is fully ADR'd, and it is not ADR'd well. Everyone is, I don't know if it's a New Jersey accent or a Boston accent, but no one is from New York. Everyone is from not here. As Micah noted to me when I was harassing him via text while being forced to watch this, he said the rollerblader yells out, "Beat ya!" in a 40-something white Boston voice coming out of a 20-something black skater from New York kind of kid. Not cool. Terrible script written in the voice of one person who thinks swearing is cool and funny and made everyone sound exactly the same. Naomi Watts says, "I'll write you something juicy. I'll pee on it." And then we have a German childcare worker who's smoking and yelling profanities at the children she's minding, saying that one day they'll end up selling their bodies on the streets. To a humorous scene in which Naomi Watts is trying to get into a building, accuses a character of rape, but in a funny way. Also, the blind man gropes a hairdresser, and a security guy watches some dude have sex with prostitutes, and everyone in general has this exact same tone across the entire film. Everyone is the same person. And that is the writer. That is Dick Maas. The director is trying to steal from Roland Emmerich or Michael Bay style, but with worse humor, and they kill the dogs, and they kill the kids, and a lot of following individuals and seeing their personal stories, and a jib camera moving around outside of the building and into spaces. But guess what? He's not Michael Bay. And he even ends this whole film with a Love in an Elevator Aerosmith song.
Oh my.
Yep. Plot is bonkers. Just so bonkers. The insane scientist from Desert Storm says that this elevator, this weird organic elevator chip that he has made, is a renaissance for mankind and will make everyone rich somehow. And the set of elevators, it's an infectious chip, but it never goes anywhere. This movie escalates very quickly. Haha. It goes from elevator with mechanical issues to sucking people in and spitting them out while using white light into boldly body horror. It's insane. And like the halfway mark, it just goes so quickly. Also, just some quick trivia. Following the release of his film De Lift in 1983, Dutch filmmaker Dick Maas intended to direct a remake of the film. Warner Brothers approached Maas regarding a remake. I gotta finish this trivia. It's the only redeeming thing. Approached Moss regarding a remake for American audiences, but nothing materialized until the mid-90s when Moss officially began work on the project. Production occurred in New York, with exterior shots being taken in the Netherlands. Shaft was the first American feature film that he had directed. It premiered at Cannes in 2001. I don't know how. It had a wide theatrical release in the United States, but was ultimately canceled due to the 9/11 terrorist attacks. Although entirely coincidental, the film makes several references to terrorism in New York City, getting into specific mentionings of hijackings, Osama bin Laden, and destroying the World Trade Center. Not kidding.
Jesus.
I wrote it down when it happened. I was like, the movie starts with a shot of the Twin Towers, and they say Twin Towers was almost blown up 10 years ago as a joke midway through the movie.
Jesus.
Yep.
Weird.
That's why this movie made no money. Common criticisms include that the film was not gripping enough, had a weak storyline, generally unrealistic deaths, weak dialogue, and unconvincing special effects. The film was not well received in the Netherlands and was seen as comparing poorly to De Lift, which was considered to be one of the strongest Dutch horror films of all time, while Down was regarded as a bad American B movie. So there you go.
It's funny because I almost thought about doing The Lift as my
really?
film because I remember liking that one.
Yeah.
I did not realize this was a remake by the same guy.
Same guy.
Weird.
Quite bad. Her next film, Naomi Watts' next film is
Ring?
No,
Okay.
that's like 2 films later. It's what's the David Lynch movie? Mulholland Drive.
Mulholland Drive, yeah.
Yeah, so she
blows up right after this. And was probably like, why did I do that film with the bad dialogue?
Interesting note, Vanessa Williams, in 2000, the year 2000, wait, when did this come out? 2000?
2001.
Okay, so in 2001, another movie called Shaft comes out
I know.
with Samuel L. Jackson and Vanessa Williams.
Oh, hey, that's exciting.
That's probably a better film.
I'm sure it was. It had to have been.
I remember catching this, and it was quite bad. So what was Micah's reasoning for wanting you to see this?
He said at the halfway mark, I'd understand the rollerblader getting sucked into the elevator and spat out. He said made him laugh so hard he thought he had to have me watch this movie. He's not
he
wrong.
is not a friend.
It's insane. It's insane. The fact that it exists is insane. And I mean, I get it. Like, it's got that sort of horrible turn, early 2000s horror film. It's got that jive to it. Like, it's got that feel to it. It's almost like Final Destination, but it's so fucking poorly written and ADR'd that you're like, what the fuck am I looking at? Anyway.
So weird.
Someone else go.
Eric,
I'll go.
would you like to go?
I will
put
dive in.
10 minutes on the buzzer for you.
Thank you. Okay, well, we're probably going to continue with the appreciations of the films with mine. This is 1986 Demons 2.
I haven't seen this one.
Oh, really?
No.
Okay. You kind of have. Not even known it.
Okay.
But this one is bizarre. On Rotten Tomatoes, there's a listing as Demons 2 that has no critic score and 47 from the crowd. And then there's Demons 2, The Nightmare Returns, same movie, with a No Way in Hell, 67 from the critics and 44 from the crowd.
Wow.
Saying it's a 1987 release of the film. So I don't know what's going on there.
Interesting.
Budget of 1.5 million. No idea what the box office was. Probably some billion lira or some shit like that. Directed by Lamberto Bava, who you might know from Demons, Devil Flesh, Shock, A Blade in the Dark, and Delirium. Written by Dario Argento, who wrote The Church, Suspiria, Opera, Once Upon a Time in the West, and Today We Kill, Tomorrow We Die. Also written by Lamberto Bava, who wrote The Church, Demons, Devilfish, and Shock. And finally, Franco Farini, who wrote Dark Glasses, Argento's latest film, The Church. Heads I win, tails you lose.
Everybody wrote The Church, man.
Yeah.
Like how?
I'll get into that. I mean, you might have when you talked about The Church. Acting, David Edwin Knight, who was also in a movie called Who Shot Apartment. I don't know. Nancy Briley, who is in Men vs. Women and Women vs. Men.
Oh.
2 movies. And Bruno is waiting in the car. Carolina Catalidi, who is in Carolina Catalidi Tosani, who is in Mother of Tears, Opera, Ghost Son, and Phantom of the Opera, the Argento version. Aja Argento, when she was 10.
Sure.
Her first film, I believe. Land of the Dead, XXX, Love Bites, New Rose Hotel, The Church. And yes, her first film after 1 episode of TV, so it was long before she got in trouble for sexually assaulting underage guys. So this starts with a wonderful dramatic musical start. So I had to look up the guy who did the music, who is Simon Boswell, who did Lord of Illusions, Stage Fright, and Shallow Grave. So some nice films there. Opens with a unique idea of horror in that the first film has had a worldwide effect where everybody knows what happens. Everybody now knows demons are real and they're trying to figure out how to deal with it, which
I like this.
Yeah, that's
neat.
Great start. Goes downhill quickly. The movie begins very much like the first Demons, which here's all our characters. Here's the pregnant lady and her husband, the gang of roving asshole teens, gym rats. Interestingly, one of the trainer in the gym is Bobby Rhodes, who played Tony the Pimp in the first Demons. One of the main characters in the original Demons, and plays a totally different person here. It's not even related. And an annoyed rich woman having a party who loses her shit various times for not entirely certain what reasons. There's a shot that I think is from the end of the last movie where the guy's trying to get away in a Jeep, but then it evolves into, it's not explained very well. You know, you can read lots of reviews where somebody says, well, this is exactly what happened. I'm going, that's a nice interpretation. Could be. But it's either a show of something that's happening live or a documentary about something that happened a while ago. It's not presented very well, and it's certainly shot long ago. But like the original Demons movie, this is how they introduce the demons. But they're going back. It's a group of people going back to look at the theater to see what they can find happened. And that area of town is still complete devastated. It looks like the end of the world happened there. And of course, you know, somebody ends up bleeding and bleeds on a demon, and demon comes back. Yeah. The one very frustrating part of the film is that Italian movie thing where everybody is obviously speaking English, or at least mouthing English, and everything's ADR'd in post-production. It's all looped. And not well. The demon comes out of the TV. I read a few reviews who tried to say that, oh, this is Ringu must have ripped this off. I'm going, bullshit. It looks almost exactly like Videodrome or Freddy Krueger. It looks nothing like what happened in Ringu, other than somebody sort of coming out of a TV. It's that film where somebody pushes through and you can see their hand going through. So it's not really the same thing at all, but okay. And the demon changes, and you see this by the teeth falling out, just like the original film. Let's see. Skim. Commence with screaming, running, and being unable to do anything about the demons. They had a kid demon who had an impressively gruesome death as the demon. And out of his stomach comes a little tiny demon who runs around on wires that are wonderfully visible for several scenes.
Excellent.
One of the key things that I liked about the original Demons was, of course, the soundtrack with the Motley Crue and all that kind of stuff. They had a version of that. This one had the Smiths, Peter Murphy, Dead Can Dance, Love Rockets, and the Cult. Endings credit was by the Cult, which was by far the best and only one that stood out. I had no idea those bands were represented in this movie because it's all presented more background music. You don't really hear lyrical stuff much at all. Tagline: "The Nightmare Returns." Okay. This was the first film given an X rating without any nudity, sex, or graphic violence, as the MPA deemed the transformation too much for an R rating.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
According to Bava, Argento did not interfere in shooting the film. Dario is one of those guys who persuades you to give your best, and I must say that at times he fully respected my role as the director. Apparently, there's sort of that poltergeist thing with this film where some people believe Argento took over and directed, which I don't think he did. Demons 2 began shooting on May 19th, 1986, 7 months after release of the first film.
Whoa.
Wow. It shows. This is basically the first movie done. The high-rise is very little taken care of, except for some guy like climbing in the elevators, and it's very much just demons in a new location, not done fun like the Evil Dead Rise, where there's a reason. This is the interesting part. I'm going to go on with the Demons sequels. Demons 3 never really happened, but several movies claim that title. The direct descendant is The Church from 1989.
Yeah. The
Ogre, a 1989 Lamberto Bava film, was renamed by video distributors to be Demons 3. And Umberto also had a film called Black Demon, which was renamed by the distributors to be Demons 3 for the marketing.
Yeah.
And then Demons 4, a.k.a. The Sect, or The Devil's Daughter, produced and co-written by Argento. Michelle Souvai directed movie was Jamie Lee Curtis' sister was in it. Again, renamed for marketing purposes to Demons 4.
Yeah.
Demons 5, The Devil's Veil, a.k.a. Mask of the Demon or Mask of Satan. Lamberto finally decided to remake an homage to his father's Black Sunday with skiers. So really nothing to do with demons.
With skiers.
Demons 6, De Profundis, Edgar Allan Poe's The Black Cat, which I talked about on this show at one point. Has nothing to do with the original show at all, and very little demon-esque sort of weirdness. I guess has some, but sometimes referred to as Demon 6, Armageddon, and Dead Eyes. That was talked about in episode 134. Demons 95, a.k.a. Della Morte Dell'Amore, the Cemetery Man movie.
Demons 95. Man, I really lost track of this franchise.
Yeah, no, there were.
But
it got spirally.
That's a great movie.
Yeah.
And that's not demons.
Yeah.
This is also Michael Sauvage, did a movie that has nothing to do with any of the Demons film universe, other than the steel mask sort of shows up, kind of like it. Lucio Fulci's Demonia was available as New Demons, and Dark Tower was sold as Demons 7, The Inferno.
I was going to get to that on my movie.
Why don't you do that now? If you really love demons, you'll probably enjoy this film. But I would say I think Demons is a great, entertaining, fun film. This one is fine.
Do the demons look like the demons from the first
very
movie?
much so. They had some pretty good makeup. The lead lady who gets turned by the TV looks pretty good. She's obviously the hero demon, and there's good, just like the original. There's some good violence, some good demon stuff, but it's just it's fine. Watch the original.
That's too bad. I always heard the premise and thought it sounded really fun. But
oh man, that opening scene, because I remembered seeing, I'd watched this before and remember thinking, it's all right.
Yeah.
And then that opening thing goes, what, did I miss that? That sounds great. And that is used in the TV and really not referenced in any other way.
Bummer.
All right, I'm putting 10 minutes on for myself, as Eric spoke about.
So redeem us, Kelly.
Not going to happen. I wish I had chosen Poltergeist 3 or the original The Lift. Instead, I chose Dark Tower. Not the Stephen King.
Okay.
This is from 1987. I couldn't find any budget or box office information on it, or Rotten Tomatoes critics. The audience has it rated at 6%.
Woof.
It is directed by Freddie Francis, who has 37 credits, including a bunch of Hammer films, Dr. Terror's House of Horror, Dracula has Risen from the Grave, The Brain, The Evil of Frankenstein. It is also directed by Ken Wiederhorn, who has 12 credits, including Shockwaves, Return of the Living Dead 2, A House in the Hills. You'd think that these guys could come up with a good movie.
Yeah. Nice pedigree there.
Mm-hmm.
Written by Robert J. Avrek, who has 13 credits, including Blood Bride, Body Double, Max Q. Also written by Ken Blackwell, who has 4 credits, including Triumphs of a Man Called Horse. And then Ken Wiederhorn actually has a writing credit in this as well. Starring the always dependable Michael Moriarty. 88 credits, including Q, the Winged Serpent, The Stuff, Pale Rider, It's Alive 3, Island of the Alive.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And the lovely Jenny Gutter. 119 credits, including Logan's Run, An American Werewolf in London, Child's Play 2. And then it also has a bunch of notable cameos from Kevin McCarthy, Anne Lockhart, Carol Lindley, Theodore Bickle. This is a snooze fest, you guys.
Aww.
We're introduced to Carolyn Page, who is the owner of this brand new high-rise in Barcelona. It has living units in it and offices, everything. I guess it's hard to tell what is going on here. She is congratulating a few investors and even gives one of them a ceremonial hard hat, I think is what's going on in this scene, because clearly they were all asked to improvise dialogue. It was probably going to be a scene where we don't hear any of it and the credits are rolling as this stuff is happening. But then all of a sudden we do hear it and it makes no fucking sense at all what they're saying. She's like, "Do you like it?" And then she puts the hat in a hat box and hands it to the men, who all laugh and say goodbye. Sure. She then goes into her living unit, I think. It also connects to her office as the new CEO of a company that is based in this high rise or some such bullshit.
Okay.
And she undresses just as a man on the outside of the building is lowering himself on hanging scaffolding to wash the window. She is wearing some kind of frilly lingerie under her clothes, but it is the most ridiculously boring lingerie I've ever seen. And I'm like, what would be the point of wearing bad lingerie? If you're wearing a business suit, you're going to wear just underwear, right?
Sure.
Unless you're expecting something hot to happen. And then if you're expecting something hot to happen, you would wear good lingerie.
Only so much lingerie can fit underneath a business suit,
This
you know?
stuff
She must have been limited.
there's a lot of lingerie. This is like frilly and stupid looking and everything. Anyway, so he's peeking in on her, and who wouldn't? It's Jenny Gutter. She's gorgeous. I had a girlfriend who looked a lot like her. You remember Christy?
Oh, yeah.
She looked just like Jenny Gutter. Absolutely gorgeous. Nutty. But it was a good time for a while.
You say this about everybody that you dated.
That's not true. Anyway, Carolyn sees him watching her, and she walks towards the window in a sexy way, giving him eyes and all, and then closes the blinds on him. But just then, he seems to start struggling with someone on the scaffolding, but there's nobody else there.
Oh.
It's a full-on scuffle fight, and then he is thrown off the scaffolding and plummets to his death, landing on one of the guys that she gave the hard hat to.
Oh, no.
Probably didn't help him much, did it?
Killed him. I imagine that this is supposed to be like a humorous scene. It would have been great if he had been wearing it.
Yeah.
And they had said something like, now you won't get hurt if something falls on you. No, nothing like that. That would require some kind of writing.
That's a missed opportunity.
Yeah. So a security expert is called in to investigate the case for the insurance company. And this is Dennis, played by Michael Moriarty at his sleepiest. He is so fucking lazy in this movie that it's embarrassing. Normally, I think he can do no wrong. He is practically snoring in every scene.
Oh, no.
Also, this is the second movie where he's had to deal with a window washer falling off of scaffolding. So, off of a high rise. That's strange. I could have done Q, the Winged Serpent, as a high rise movie.
There
That
you
would have been.
go. That's a fun one.
Dennis can't find anything wrong, but after he leaves, Carolyn calls him back that night and they have sex. Maybe.
Oh.
I can't tell. It's shot in a way where I thought it was a fantasy or a dream she was having, but then it ends and they're actually talking to each other in bed and moving the plot forward with what they're discussing. And I was like, did this really just happen? Did Sleepy Moriarty actually score Jenny a gutter? Anyway, he ends up continuing to investigate because people keep dying in freak accidents like an elevator death, or are they murders?
Uh-oh.
And Dennis eventually starts to think the place might be haunted. But we know the place is haunted because Carolyn sees the reflection of a dead man in her glass coffee tabletop, and she recognizes the man. So she is somehow involved in what is going on in this place.
Uh-oh.
So Dennis brings in a parapsychologist played by Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy is the lead of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. So he's the guy running down the street. They're coming. They're all around, you know. So he comes in and he obviously thinks he's in a real movie because he gives his one scene his all. I mean, he's acting all over the place. And then when he leaves, we are left falling asleep again with Moriarty. It finally ramps up at about the 80-minute mark. This is an 87-minute film. And we get a solid 7 or 8 movies of rotting corpse haunt horror that was halfway decent, and then the credits roll. This movie is badly written, it is badly directed, it is badly acted, and yet still, out of 2 movies called Dark Tower, this is the better one.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
Tagline: in a city that never sleeps, this building is a nightmare.
Ooh.
Okay, sure.
I kind of like it. I kind of like it. Okay, trivia. This is how bad this movie is. This is how little anybody fucking cared who was involved in this movie.
Oh, jeez.
Michael Moriarty's name comes up, and it's spelled wrong. It's spelled Moriarity. Moriarty.
Oh, no.
I'm just like, okay, right here, opening credits. I should have known not to go any fucking further. Released in the U.S. as The Curse 5 and in Japan as Demon 7, The Inferno.
Yeah, there you go.
This is interesting. Original director Ken Wiederhorn was replaced during production by Freddie Francis. Lucy Gutteridge, who is the beautiful woman from Top Secret, she was replaced during production by Jenny Gutter. Roger Daltrey, the singer of The Who,
Yeah.
originally cast as Dennis, and then he was replaced by Michael Moriarty.
Jeez.
Whoa.
I guess you could assume that this was a trouble production based on all of that and the fact that it was a Sandy Howard production. Sandy was a schlock TV and film producer who was probably best known for paying a $250,000 out-of-court settlement when an electrician died and 11 others were injured on the set of Skywriters in 1976.
Ooh.
You ever see Skywriters?
No, I haven't even heard of that one.
Not worth somebody's life.
Oh, man.
That was my movie. Having seen Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade just recently,
Okay.
I chose poorly.
Oh.
Yeah, this was for as many good movies that take place in a high-rise building. We all managed to not find one.
Well,
And mine was
thanks, Micah.
purposely bad, you know? You guys, it was just, we were cursed.
Well, Demons 2 has its appeal. There are
Yeah.
people that probably absolutely love this film.
yeah.
I'm fine with that.
This one has a good poster. It's got a cityscape and then a gigantic coffin as the high rise. So I was like, oh, that's kind of a cool poster. I just thought, I don't know why I didn't see this back in the day, but I thought, oh, I'm going to give this a try. I love Michael Moriarty. I love Jenny Agutter. And then they are both just like, you can tell they're really upset that they took this script.
Oh, no. Maybe they just didn't like working with each other.
You know, there's got to be one thing when you're Jenny Agutter and you're working opposite Michael York and you're working opposite, what's his name in American Werewolf?
Yeah.
You know, you got handsome leading men, and then you're given Michael Moriarty, whose hair is, in a bad comb over, and he's always kind of snarky and everything.
Yes.
I never know if he's really a secret asshole or if that's just the character he plays.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But I don't know. It is it's also a strangely old cast. I mean, Jenny's probably only in her mid to late 30s there. Michael's got to be in his late 40s there. And then everybody else is older than them.
Wow.
How weird.
It's like, this high rise in Barcelona, which should be full of beautiful people, is not.
Young, trendy, no.
Okay. Hey,
we need a new topic.
yeah, Eric, that is up to you. You got something good for us?
Let's see what we can do here. I'm thinking we find a movie with a good artist in it. A painter, a sculptor, a creator of photography, anything along those lines. It's something. And I can think of a few films off the top of my head that are really good that fit into that.
Yeah, okay. I like that idea.
Nice.
Okay, so then this is the part where we thank everybody for liking and sharing posts.
Yes.
The value for value model, which is if you get any value out of this, turn around and give some value back, and whatever that means to you.
Yeah.
We can't decide what value you get.
That's right.
And
Only you know.
That's yes. And thanks to everybody who's just always out there supporting us. I get messages from Danny Williford and from Ron and from Will Lau in Hong Kong is always sending me stuff. He's been sending me pictures, photos of him and his lovely family and all that stuff. Just hanging out and having a good time. So thanks for that, Will. I am very jelly.
Yeah.
Aw.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if you go to writtenbyklyoung.com, there are still a few copies left of Infernal Combustion, which was limited to just 99 copies. So grab them while they're still there. And you can pick up some of my scripts there, all of that stuff. Everybody else got a website? Everybody else selling stuff?
You can go to my website if you need a video game trailer.
That's right.
That's not that VanessaWilliams.com.
Go to Strange Eons Radio and support the podcast.
That would be great.
That's the best. That's the best one.
Although I've begun dipping my toe into some pre-production, production, filmmaking, how-to books and stuff like that. Then we'll see where this stuff goes from there.
Nice.
Very, very cool. All right, guys, we'll be back in 7 short days, and we're talking artists. See you next Thursday.
Transportation and other considerations for Strange Eons Radio produced by Pan Am Airlines.
When you think of traveling, think of Pan Am. You can't beat the experience. Guests of Strange Eons Radio stay at Econo Lodge Everett. It's an easy stop on the road, if you know what we mean. Strange Eons Radio is recorded live in front of a studio audience. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving us a positive review on your favorite podcast app. Sit, Ubu, sit.
Bam, mic drop, walk away.